The discovery of King Tut's tomb in November 1922 was one of the greatest archaeological discoveries of all time. But perhaps what made it even more famous were the subsequent mysterious deaths that were put down to an ancient curse. Join us as we look at some of those deaths and whether they could be put down to the curse of King Tut. 4. The Curse of King Tutankhamun. On November 6, 1922, a team of British archaeologists led by Howard Carter discovered the entrance to the tomb of Tutankhamun. It is hard to overstate the excitement that this caused. When archaeologists opened Tutankhamun's tomb, strange deaths followed. Was it just coincidence or a real ancient curse? For 3,000 years, the boy king had lain hidden beneath the desert sands until that very moment when the world finally learned of his final resting place. Archaeologists had been searching for the lost tomb for decades with little success, and Carter himself had been looking for it for 5 years. Just 2 weeks before the discovery, he had told his financial backer, Lord Carnarvon, "If I do not find something very shortly, I shall give up the search and go home." But as fate would have it, just days later, the tomb was found, hidden beneath the floor of a much later tomb, the tomb of an unknown queen. When the official announcement of the discovery appeared in the newspapers around the world, there was huge public excitement. People wanted to know every detail of this incredible discovery. And to satisfy demand, journalists were given access to the site and allowed to enter the tomb. One journalist even claims to have met the spirit of Tutankhamun within the tomb. But the public fascination with the newly found tomb soon turned to horror when news broke of a series of unexplained deaths that seemed to be connected to the site. Many people believed that the Egyptians had placed curses on the tombs of their dead pharaohs to keep grave robbers out. Stories spread that anyone who disturbed the pharaoh's eternal rest would be cursed. While there is no evidence to support these claims, they certainly captured the imagination of the press. According to some accounts, these curses took the form of the 7 plagues of Egypt, including poisonous snakes, frogs, and lice. Others claimed that any intruder into the tomb would die within 7 years of the offense. With such lurid tales circulating, it wasn't long before the first death attributed to the curse was recorded. Less than 2 months after the tomb was opened, on February 17, 1923, Sir Arthur Coningham Woolley died. He had been part of the original team that discovered the tomb, but he left soon after due to disagreements with Carter over credit for the find. He died suddenly of a heart attack at the age of 62. Then just 3 months later, on May 1923, Lord Carnarvon, the man who had bankrolled the excavation of the tomb, died of the Spanish flu while visiting his sick daughter in America. His death was officially from the flu, but conspiracy theorists attribute it to the curse. There were other deaths that occurred during the following years that were also put down to the curse. In 1929, George J. Gould, a member of the American team that helped with the excavation, died after falling down a flight of stairs at his home. An accidental death, but one that conspiracy theorists attribute to the curse. Then in 1930, the actress and writer Margaret Murray, who had written a play about the discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb, died of a cerebral hemorrhage. She had never been near the tomb, yet she too was apparently affected by its curse. In 1931, Dorothy Ward, an archaeologist who had worked alongside Carter at the dig, died of a brain hemorrhage. Just a year later, the American millionaire and patron of the arts, J.P. Morgan Jr., died of a heart attack. Again, a seemingly random death that conspiracy theorists attribute to the curse. In total, 22 people who had some connection to the tomb were to die, leading many to believe that the curse of King Tut was very real. But are there other, more logical explanations? There is no doubt that the deaths attracted a great deal of attention at the time. Newspapers across the world ran stories of the curse and the body count mounted. But with so many people involved in the discovery and the subsequent study of Tutankhamun's tomb, it is hardly surprising that some died. Many of those who died were elderly, and the leading causes of death attributed to the curse were heart attacks and strokes. These are hardly unusual ways to die, while there is no denying that the deaths cast a shadow over the discovery of the tomb. It is important to remember that there were hundreds of people working on the excavation, and in the years since then, thousands more have visited the site without any untoward incidents occurring. So, while the idea of an ancient curse might make for a good story, it is probably best to attribute these deaths to random chance rather than anything more sinister. But what about those who died under mysterious circumstances, like the sudden death of Sir Arthur Coningham Woolley? Well, some claim that his death may have been linked to the discovery of the tomb. After all, he did leave the project shortly after the initial discovery, and his death came only 2 months after the tomb's opening. However, the official cause of death was recorded as heart failure. And according to those who knew him, he had been complaining of feeling unwell for some time before his death. Ultimately, there is no way of knowing whether his death was linked to the tomb or not. But what about the death of Lord Carnarvon, the man who funded the dig? He was the first high-profile person to die after the tomb's opening, and the timing was certainly suspicious. But again, the official cause of death was recorded as the Spanish flu, which he contracted while visiting his sick daughter in America. Unfortunately, the fact that he died just 3 months after the tomb's opening has led some to believe that he was indeed the victim of the curse. It is important to note that the curse of King Tutankhamun never specifically predicted that those who discovered the tomb would die. The warnings were of grave robbers being killed, not of archaeologists. Still, the proximity of Carnarvon's death to the tomb's opening has led some to question the official explanation and blame the curse instead. Ultimately, there is no way of knowing whether or not the curse of King Tutankhamun is real. The deaths of those involved in the discovery of his tomb can be put down to a combination of random chance and the fact that many of those involved were elderly. While the idea of an ancient curse may make for a good story, it is probably best to attribute these deaths to random chance rather than anything more sinister. What do you think of the curse of King Tutankhamun? Do you think there is any truth to it, or do you think it was just a case of bad luck? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out my others for more historical tales. Thanks for watching.